Pulled up and over the top again, duplicating a maneuver in the opposite direction. But